Hi friends, you're welcome to the Tailor's Hub. In this video, I'll be showing you how I made this blazer wrap dress with a shawl collar. I decided to try it out with a plain satin and an Ankara fabric. You should see how it turned out. I want to specially thank all our subscribers, our existing subscribers. Thank you so much. And if this is your first time or you have been watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and encourage us to do more and turn on your notifications to know when a new video is uploaded. Thank you. All right, you're welcome back, guys. So these are the materials I will be needing for the collar overlapped blazer dress with the pleating by the side. So this is a Duchess satin, and I want to use an Ankara fabric for the pleating on the side, a shawl collar. If you want to make this style for an average sized person, that's between sizes 8 to 10, 14 thereabouts. So the plain material, this is a Duchess doll face satin, sorry. If you use crepe or any other suit material, if you have just 2 yards of fabric, then about a yard or half a yard, depending on how tall or how long you want the dress to be, of the other material. But if you want it all together, just as the one in the picture is, you 2.5 yards will be fine. If you have two different materials like this, when materials are in pieces, you might need more material. So 1 yard of the patterned material if you want to sew it like mine, then 2 yards of the plain material. Let's get started. As we have folded the material, anytime I'm making an overlapped dress, I like to cut the back first. Especially this is a suit dress, so we cut the back first. So the first thing I'm going to do is to rule my starting line. This is my starting line. I trust that you can see it. Let me shift it well so that you can see it. So I go ahead and measure my half length, or the half length of this person's measurement. The half length that I want to use for this dress is 16 inches. So I'll go ahead and add half inch. I make it 16.5 inches and I rule the half length. I always say in my videos that I like to measure all the vertical measurements first before I go ahead and place my horizontal measurements. So we have measured the half length. Then we go ahead and measure the shoulder to the hip line. Your shoulder to the hip line is the fullest, your shoulder to the fullest part of your hip line. Let me repeat it again. The hip line is the fullest part of your hip. So the fullest part of this person's hip, the length shoulder to the hip line of this person is 26, or let's say 25 and a half. So I make it 26. The half inch is the allowance, 26. This is 26. Okay, so I shift it down. We'll come back to that. So we measured the shoulder to the armhole length. All right, the armhole length here is 8.5. 8.5. This is 8.5. All right, then I go ahead and measure the shoulder to the bust point. The shoulder to the bust point of this person is 10. So I make it 10 and half. Remember, we are cutting the back, but why I'm ruling out this measurement is because we are going to be using this same back to cut the front. All right, this is shoulder to armhole, shoulder to the bust point, then shoulder to under bust, which is 13. So I make it 13.5. 13.5. This is 13.5. All right, so those are the vertical measurements. So at this half length, all right, this is a very I can call this a layman's way. I use the layman's language in cutting. This is a very simple way to cut this jacket dress. All right, so at this is the half length. You remember this was the first line after the starting line that I ruled. So at the half length, remove 1 inch. That half length, remove 1 inch at the half length. Why that 1 inch? At your back, at everyone's back, there's a hole. There's this shape at our back. So if you want to make a jacket, the jacket should sit. It should sit in your back. It should sit well. So we want to carve that line at the back. From this 1 inch that I have measured, I'm going to connect it to this starting line. All right, I'm going to connect it to the edge. The edge, see here. I'm going to connect it to this place. This is the starting line. I'll connect it here. Not here. I'm not measuring 1 inch here. At the starting point here. I'm going to connect. Let me roll it so that you can see it. All right. So here is it. You can see the slanting to this point. Then I do the same down. I'm going to do the same down. I'm going to connect it probably to my shoulder to the hip line. To the hip line measurement. I'm going to connect it to the hip line measurement. This is it. I'm still coming back to rule because I want us to focus here. I'm coming back to get the rest of the measurement. That's the length of the dress. So let's go ahead. Okay. So now, after we have ruled this back line, I don't know whether that is the name it is called, but I know that's line at the back of every jacket. Okay. So measure another 1 inch as the seam allow. You can make it ½ inch, but I like to add enough allowance just in case there's an error. So you have something to fall back on. So I trace down my 1 inch on that back line. Trace down the 1 inch. Let me roll it so that you see the shape. Okay. So all right, let's bring it closer. So now after I've taken the allowance at that back. Okay, so I now go ahead and take all my measurement from the shoulder, this starting line. I measure the shoulder. Shoulder for this dress, I'm going to make it 15. Okay, this is 15. Add ½ inch allowance. Remember, this is the place where we're going to join the back. Let's call this, it's not going to have zip, of course, but imagine this was a zip allowance. I'm repeating it because of those beginners that may not really understand what this is all about. So imagine this was a zip allowance, but we're going to sew it inside. All right, this shape I make it here so that it will have that fit at the back. Okay, so we measure the shoulder 15. I make it 8 because of the 7.5. 15 into 2 is 7.5. I'd add ½ inch allowance. It gives me 8. Then we go ahead and measure the bust. On the bust, remember this is the armhole length. Let's finish up with the armhole. Okay, take it in. Remember we have shifted this place here. We have shifted this place. It's shifted a little, so it's not going to be the same 8 inches down here. I'll make it 7.5 so that it can balance up. Let me use a ruler. All right, so for the purpose of the beginners, this is the armhole length. At this L point, this angle here, just draw an arc. Draw an arc. That's our armhole, and then connect it. Go in here by ½ inch thereabout and connect it to the shoulder. Connect it to the shoulder. All right. So we come here and measure the bust. The bust of this person is 35. So divide 35 into 4. Divide 35 into 4. If I divide 35 into 4, it gives me this 8.75. Then I add my sewing allowance, which is 1.5 inches. That's for the bust. I go to the under bust. The under bust of this person is 28. 28. So 28 divided into 4 is 7 inches. Then I add that allowance. That is 1 inches. I hope I'm not too fast. Please, you can rewatch over and over again so that you get clarity. Okay, then add 1.5 inches allowance also. The waist and the under bust is the same measurement. So I go ahead and do the same thing. 7 inches. That allowance, the waist and the under bust. That allowance then 1.5 inches. There. Okay, then we move to the hip line. We move to the hip line. It is on the hip line we are going to be measuring the hip. Full length is 38. So I want to make it 40. 40 because of the hem allowance and both up and down. Okay, so that's about that. Then this 1 inch. I may have to pin down this dress. All right, we have measured the length. So let's come back up here. The hip of this person is 38. 38 divided into 4 is 9.5. Okay, 9.5. Then sewing allowance 1.5 inches, and we connect it to the waist. It's looking like a dress, right? So I go ahead and measure the full length now. So now back to the up. We have measured all the necessary. So at the neck, okay, the neck width, I want to make it 2 because this is the back. I'm going to leave the, is it that I go down, sometimes I go down by half an inch, you know, and draw a sharp line connecting it to the neck width like this, or I leave it like that. So I want to go down by half inch. At the end of the shoulder here, you should go down by 1 inch, 1 inch, and connect it. All right, connect it to the neck, connect it to the neck. So that's about that. So we go ahead now and cut it. All right, guys. So I told you that we're going to be using the back to cut the front. I've already placed the back on the front. So the first thing I'll do is to measure the depth of the neck. Ensure that the space that's, this space that I left here is for the overlapping of the front. So I'll be needing about 7 inches. That's why the space is this wide. So now let's get to the business. I'll measure the half length first. So this is the half length, just like the back. Okay, this is the starting line again. Let me measure it so we can all see it for the front. So the only thing, the way I cut mine, the only thing that will be different from this back and this front is number 1, the neck depth. Remember, this is the middle line. This center line at the back is the middle line here. All right, this is the middle line here. So measure the depth of the neck. I'll make it 8.5 inches. Let me raise it. The depth of the neck. All right, and make your V neckline. This is the width of the neck. The width of the neck. I'm using the back to measure the front for, I want it because it should be equal. All right, so now this is it. I connect my V neckline. All right, then from the end of this V neckline, I'm going to be connecting it to this half length. However, before I connect it, let's measure our 7 inches. I'll make it 7.5 inches because of sewing allowance. All right, so it is on that 7 inches I'll connect my V neckline to. I hope it's clear. Half length V, the V neckline, the end of the V neckline, the neck width here. All right, so connect it. All right, so now, and lastly, before the shoulder, the armhole will be about the same thing. The shoulder, the armhole, and every other thing. Then lastly, before we cut, so we measure our 7 inches, 7.5 inches, sorry, from up down. All right. Sorry, even the ruler is here because I'm so used to ruling with my hand. I didn't remember to use it. All right. So now, this is the 7.5 inches width that's going to overlap at the waist. However, you will notice that at the hem of the dress is slanted. It's not straight. It's slanted. So what we are going to do here is to reduce the 7 inches at the downside here. We're going to be, I want to reduce it by half of the measurement. Half of this measurement. That is half of 7.5 inches, which is 3.75. 3.75. I trust you understand. The addition for the overlapping of the front is 7.5 inches. I ruled it all the way from the half length down. However, because of the slanting at the hem of the dress, I divide that 7.5 into 2, which is 3.75, and I connect it to the half length. Sorry, I connect it to the half length. All right, that is it. That's all the style. Okay, so we'll go ahead now and cut everything as shown. Take a look at this. All right, this is it. So the next, let's go ahead and cut the sleeve. To cut the sleeve, I'm measuring the armhole. This is 10.5 inches minus 1.5, that's 9. Then minus half inch I'm going to take at the shoulder. The armhole measurement that we need is 8.5 inches. can see I folded the material into 4. I don't want it to be a long sleeve. I want it to be 3/4. I want to add enough. I want the hem of this sleeve to have enough volume. So now, I think I should even make the length of the sleeve 17 inches. The sleeve, measure from the starting line, all right, about 5 inches down. Under the 5 inches, measure the bicep. The bicep is the fullest part of your arm. Okay, measure bicep. Bicep of this person is 11. I'm going to be dividing the 11 into 2, which is 5.5. All right, you can take it down maybe a little by 1 inch. Don't let it sit directly under the 5 inches that you measured. All right, 5.5. Add, I'm going to add 1 inch sewing allowance. Makes it simple. Slant it a little up. All right, then measure. We need 8.5 inches plus just 1 inch allowance. That's 9.5. However, this is just like a normal sleeve. However, because we are going to be needing it, for as a suit, it's going to be doubled as a suit hand. So what I do is to add additional 1 inch to have that gathered effect. When we are sewing it, you understand what I'm saying. So in essence, the armhole measurement that we need is 17, which is 8.5. 8.5 plus sewing allowance, that's 1 inch, plus additional 1 inch. All right, that's 10.5. So we need 10.5 here. 10.5. So draw something like an elongated S. That's the way I explain to myself. Draw something like an elongated S. All right, so this is 10.5 because we need the measurement of the armhole to be a little bit more than the measurement of the dress. You will know why. Okay, so we measure the round arm down, which is 10 inches. Add 1 inch allowance, then connect it. Okay, that's that. So let's cut the sleeve. The only thing we need to cut on this back, if you want to add lining, you can add lining, but this particular dress is not going to have lining. I'll cut an interfacing when we are done with this last face of this dress. Okay, so we are going to be slashing out one side of the front part. Okay, where we are going to be adding the pleating. All right, so now let's take out one side. This other side, we're going to be slashing it out. This is what I mean by slashing it out. From the shoulder to the half length. Where's the half length? To the half length. So we're going to be cutting it off. All right. So now, from the shoulder to the half length is 16 inches. But we will add 1 inch so that by the time we sew half up and half here, it will balance up to 16 inches. So now, let's cut out 17 inches. All right. We'll be cutting out 17 inches. All right. This is it. So right here, yeah, now this is where our plain Ankara is going to sit. So all we need to do is to measure the length. This is 22 inches. This is 22, I think 22.5 inches. So I'll use that length. That 22.5 inches that we measured, we'll just need to add half inch allowance so that by the time we join it to the upper part, it's going to balance up to our measurements. So 22.5 inches plus half inch, that's 23. 23 inches, all right? All right, so this is the Ankara that we'll be adding to the side of the dress. All we need to do is just to, arrange the pleating with iron. All right, so that's about that. So let's go ahead and add interfacing to the outfits. So I've added the necessary stay for on the dress. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the placement of the darts. All right, the placement of the darts. the dart is going to start from the nipple point area. So the width of the dart, I'm going to make it 4 inches, 4 inches wide. Then the length of the dart, all right, I'm going to make it 10 inches, all right, 4 inches wide, then 10 inches. This is the dart. That's the dart. And let me mark the other side as well. That. And I also do the same thing for the front. The easier way to get the measurement of the dart, just measure from the side here, all right, to get the width of the darts of the front. This is 6.5 from the side, then down here is 6 inches. So I'm going to go ahead now. Forgive me, I have to use the pieces of the stay available to, because if you want the front part to sit well, you have to add enough stay to the necessary places. All right, so from the shoulder, measure the nipple point, which is 10. I make it 10.5 because of the sewing allowance of, then 6.5 as I measured on the other side. You know, it might be a bit difficult to get the center of this place, so that's why I measured from the side of the back. All right, so the length 10 inches, from the side 6 inches. This is the dart. All right, the same for the other short side. This one might not be up to 10 inches because we have cut off the half length, so the dart is going to sit on the half length. So the length of the dart is 10.5 inches as shown on the other side. Sorry, the length from where the dart will start is from the shoulder to the nipple point. That's the point where the dart will start or end. Then 6.5 on this side of the dart. Then this one goes down. All right, it enters into the half length. So that's about that. So we'll go ahead and hold the dart now. After I've held the dart, I'm going to join the back here. I'm going to join, tracing it on this line that was formed when we made the curve at the back of the dress. We are going to trace this 1 inch out. All right, then we join the shoulder. Let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, we have joined the shoulder. I've even added the Ankara, the pleating on the side of the dress. All right, so the next thing to do, I've joined the center. To get the shawl collar is to measure this place from this part of the overlapping to the second side. Measure it around this way. All right, this is 41.5 inches. That's 41. We're going to be using the Ankara as the shawl collar. I cut the collar by folding about 3.5 inches material this way, like this, and I fold it into 2. So from this point, I begin to make a curve, you know, then it ends somewhere here. The whole thing is straight all the way. It's a very simple collar. All right, so before you cut, you can measure it again and again to be sure of the measurements. So this is our collar. So I go ahead and notch the center. All right, so the next thing to do now is just to add a stay to the collar. All right, then go ahead and also cut the rope. This is the rope for the sides. All right, guys, so as you can see, after joining the shoulder, this is the shoulder, this is the back, and that's the front. I've added the collar already. To save our time, I've joined, let me show, this is it. I've added the collar. All I need, you can see the way I cut the collar. All I needed to I just sewed it on it at the from the beginning here, and it ends here. All right, so this is the belt. The belt started immediately from where the collar begins and ends. This is it. You see, I just, so that it will be fast, that's why I joined it, so that I can explain and we'll all see how it was joined. This is it. All right, this is the other side. You know, I'm going to, after I'm done with this, I'm going to be ironing this splitting very well. All right, so that's about that. Okay, so this is it. That's been joined. The next thing we're going to do is to use the facing. This is the facing. You can see that the way I joined the clothes itself is the way I joined the facing. This is the back. This is the shoulder. All right. This is the facing for the other side that, doesn't have the Ankara. And that's the facing of the side that we cut off the half length from. So the next thing we are going to do now is to place this facing. All right. Place this facing this way. Look at, see, this is the back. I'm going to sew it from the front and use it to turn it this way. This joining is going to be inside. All right. I'm using it from the front and turn it back to back like this. Shoulder to shoulder like this. All right. Shoulder to shoulder like this. Okay. Then I use it to turn the neck. That's shoulder neck. All right. I'm going to be joining it this way. I prepared this shoulder pad by myself with a wadding and a fiber. We're going to be adding the shoulder pad. Then, this is the hand. If you remember, I said that I'm going to be making the armhole to be a little bigger than the armhole of the sleeve, to be a little bigger, the measurement of the armhole of the sleeve, to be a little bigger than the armhole of the dress. All right, so what I did was to sew a gathers here. So I'm going to make it gathered a little. All right. Just watch me. All right, watch me. I'm going to get, it doesn't have to have any pleats. It just have this bulkiness somewhere here like this. Do the same for the other side. All right. Can you see it? You can see this side. I even tried to have any pleats and I spread it out just to have this bulkiness here. All right. I trust we can see it. This pleating is not going to be showing at all. So we do the same for the second sleeve. You can see the bulkiness. So the next thing to do now, after I've joined the collar and hold the measure, let me go and join the collar, then we'll come back to this. Join the lining to the cloth itself rather. So this is the way it's looking right now. All right, so this is it. This is the way it's looking. So the next thing to do now is to trace out our measurements. All right, I'm going to be using the back, okay, to trace out the measurements. Almost there. Take a look. See, though I have ironed the sides and all, but for this dress to come out really nice, I will of course iron this place properly, arrange the pleatings. The style is not necessarily pleated. I think it's a pleated fabric that was used, but I decided to try it out with this Ankara. I know it will come out really well. Then this collar too needs a whole lot of ironing. So we are going together. Before I iron it, I like to couple everything. Then I start the ironing. All right. So now the next thing to do, before I add the sleeves, I'm going to arrange it properly and put a hole in which this belt is going to enter into. So I've sewn it. I wanted to put it before, but I decided to, explain how it's going to to be added. So you should sit on the measurement of the half length. All right, look at it. This line is the half length line. Ensure that while you are trying to put the hole, you have arranged the shoulder is equal this way. It's sitting well the way it should sit, so that it can balance up when it wants to wear it, wears it. All right. So this is it. Can you see? Is it coming out? All right. So now the next thing to do now, I'm going to open this place up. Then we add the sleeve that we have already prepared. Before we add the sleeve, this is the shoulder pad that I created myself. If you have a ready-made shoulder pad, that's fine. Fold the shoulder pad into two this way and mark the center and place it, all right, on the shoulder, the end of the shoulder this way. You see the center, place it on it. I'm going to pin it down right now. So why I decided to do it this way, we're going to sew it together with the sleeve. Let's do the same for the other side. All right, guys, so we're done with the dress, as you can see. And there's a hole here whereby the rope on this side is going to pass in through. All right, this is the hole. You leave a space, like I told you earlier. It has to be sitting on the half length. Okay, and comes out here.